Hello, this is going to be my commentary on my Paper Mario Glitchless Speedrun 35701 on the Nintendo 64 English version. I'll be going through some of the decision making, strategies, how some of the stuff works, and mistakes I made. This can be used for anybody who's unfamiliar with the game to catch on with what's going on, and to help people who might want to get into this game speedrunning. I'll be talking some of the bare basics that talk about very much, and some of the world record explanations. This game is slower on the US release than the Japanese version because there's less characters in the text boxes, and there's a couple of other things as well that makes the Japanese faster than the English version. You could probably shave off a couple minutes of this run if I was playing on the Japanese version. Right out of the gate, your movement's going to get put to the test right here. I'll be going into an explanation on how the movement works with the spinning and jumping to get max efficient movement. This game is a combination of both movement and skill, because your movement here is just like any other movement game like Super Mario 64. But for the battles, it's turn-based strategy where you have to have the right badges, items, moves, and planning on your health and flower points. And a couple of other things as well. This is a very tedious part of the game. The prologue is extremely long for this game with Glitchless. It's 22 minutes long. I usually have something playing next to me during the spot because there's not much you can do right here. You're just holding B to make the text go as fast as possible. This is a good game to get into speedrunning if you aren't into speedrunning. It just happened to be that this was one of the games from my childhood, but if you're not good at frame perfect tricks like I am, this is the game for you. This is a fight where you have to lose. You have no chance of winning, so you have to lose as fast as possible here. You're just gonna jump repeatedly. You gotta remember when the text boxes come up so you can hold B when they happen. You can jump a little bit faster if you're mashing A as Mario walks towards Bowser before he jumps. It's easier to do this when you don't have the action commands yet, but once you do have the action commands, it's a lot harder. You gotta time it just right, and you can mess up the action commands, so I choose not to do it. So once I get the action commands, I'll point out later how you can see that my jump is slower. You definitely save a lot of time from this part in the Japanese version because there's so much text boxes. So, the rules for this speedrun, what Glitchless it defines as for this game, you can't do any clipping, wrong warping, sequence breaks. What else? A couple of other exploits. There's a couple of small tricks that might look like glitches, but they have been ruled allowed. If you want to see the full rule list, speedrun.com lists the full rules in the description. Currently, this video is at number 21 on the leaderboards. It's currently the highest US version of the Nintendo 64, which is kind of surprising. I'm assuming that for people who've been playing this for a long time, who get to this point of skill, transition over to the Japanese because it really is beneficial to shave off minutes. But I'm not going to play on the Japanese version. I'll be also referencing some additional guides you can go to if you want more information. Still holding the B button. Some people put vice grips on the controller and so they can go to the bathroom or something. You can, for those doors, when you're walking out, you don't have to press A to exit those doors. You could just walk to the door and it opens for you. If you go fast enough, you can see how I was able to talk to that Goomba as he was walking towards me and not away from me. So I guess I'll explain the movement. Spinning is the Z button, and the reason why we don't just mash Z and spin constantly is because there is a slowdown at the end of the spin. So in order to cancel that slowdown, you jump as you're starting to slow down, and it cancels the slowdown. You can start spinning at full speed for the next one. So you're basically doing Z, A, Z, A at the right times. And you also want to not hold A all the way down and do a full jump, because you want to do short jumps. But as you see right here, you can do spins right away if you're falling down ledges. So you see right there, I didn't even have to press the A button there. Coming up here is a safe strategy you can do, is what I first started doing when I started playing this game. You can pick up extra coins in the bushes right here, but now at this point I don't need them, so I just go straight for the hammer. We do get 10 coins from this block here, but there's a couple, I believe 3 or 4 extra you can get. Those are in case you get encounters and you lose some coins from that. We need 50 coins heading back into Toad Town after Chapter 1. This run is set up so you have 51 by the end of it, so you can spare 1 coin loss without encounters. Or you get an encounter, but you pick all the coins up, which is not easy to do, and loses a lot of time. So usually, an unplanned encounter in Chapter 1 is game over, usually for me. It's just too much time loss. Same thing again, just mashing A and mashing A as you're walking towards him. And you gotta remember to hold down B when the texts come up. It's pure memorization at this point. It's just muscle memory at this point. The route's actually set up in a way where you level up is very important. I'll go into that in specific spots where it matters. So we're going to pick up some more coins right here and get the Fire Flower. As you saw right there, that little ledge right there, it canceled my spin automatically, so I didn't have to jump there as well. A little slow movement right there. This is where we get the first badge. Badges are items you can equip that gives you special moves and special abilities. We're going to be using a lot of them in this game. We're going to get the first one right here, which is going to give us a power jump, which gives us a powerful jump attack. And he's going to ask if you want a tutorial, and you got to press no twice. B, B. It's easier, you can just press B to go to no instead of pressing down and A for no. And he's going to ask you twice, are you sure? And then you say no again. So once, after this cutscene, we're going to equip the badge right away. Now coming up here is a bit of a hard trick right here, is dodging these Goombas. Because you're on this pathway, you have to really manipulate them to get around them. There's a little bit of a faster way, but it's very risky. Even this is pretty risky right there. It took me a while to get the hang of that part. And we're actually going to be doing some interesting things in this fight right here. We're going to deal 4 damage to the red one, and we're going to deal 3 damage to the blue one. The blue one has, I believe, 1 HP less than the red. And the reason why we're doing that is because if one of the Goombas dies before the other, there's going to be an extra cutscene. And we want to skip that cutscene by killing them both at the same time. So Goombario is going to do nothing here, just take more damage. And then we're going to use the Fire Flower we just got. So it kills them both, so it skips the cutscene. And that's the fastest way to kill them. So we're going to walk back and restore health and FP for the Goomba King fight. You can see right there how the difference between the jump heights. If you time it just right, you can get really short jumps. This fight's pretty easy. You just gotta make sure you don't target the wrong thing, because we're gonna hit the tree to knock down a nut, which hits all 3 of them. Just playing this run over and over again allows me to make all these movements on the cursors possible. But back when I first started, I played this part pretty safe right here. Then we got a lot more cutscenes after this. There's not much to say at this point, but I'll be talking a lot more as we go through once this prologue's over. You can just mash A right here to go to the to go save right here. You save, but it doesn't really matter. We're not going to load saves in this game, but it's the top option on the menu that's not quit, so we just mash A. So like I said before, this run has a lot of mistakes I'll be pointing out. So far, my first 3-4 chapters were really good. It's the later chapters that had a lot of mistakes. But even with all those mistakes, I was still far ahead of my previous best that I did the safe strategies for a lot of parts, and I'll explain some of those parts when it gets there. So if based on my splits, if everything went perfectly, I could probably shave 4 more minutes off this run. Maybe even more if everything went perfectly. And I did the risky strategies. But that's easier said than done. This is a little bit of a hard trick because the camera is not focused on Mario, but if you go to the right, you can get on that ledge and cancel the spins. Here's another spin cancel right here. But that's a mistake right there. I spin into the wall where I should have jumped right there. There's a small piece of debris right there that also cancels the spin, so if you hit that, you don't have to jump there as well. There's another spin cancel. Yeah, this movement here is a little bit tricky, or there's a lot of room for improvement when you first start playing this game. But I do screw it up a little bit here, yeah. Not perfect, but it's good enough. It's a lot better than when I first started playing this. You'll notice that we get full FP points, from that cutscene, which is pretty useful because we have to fight right away after this. Again, I just have music or a video playing in the background at this part. It's really boring, especially after you've seen it for the 100th time. And that's the most depressing part about this run is, like I said, most of my deaths happen in Chapter 1 because any encounter is a game over, and there's 2 heavy parts where randomness can also hurt you badly, which often is a reset. I'll point out those parts when they hit here. We're going to pick up a key item. I'll explain here. So whenever you pick up key items, like what happens right here, in order to make the text box where it says you got this item go away the fastest, you rotate the control stick around. Here's another part where he asks you tutorial. You gotta say no twice. So that's another part you gotta look out for. So this guy has 8 health, so we're gonna use the power jump twice and have Goombario skip his turn. And prologue is almost over. There's a little bit of a, I think I screwed up here. Yeah, screwed up a little bit right there. It's okay, though. Okay, yeah, that's a big mistake right there. I wasn't lined up quite right against the tone. This is another case where you want to move before the camera moves. Because as you see right here, Merlin pops up right away when Mario reaches the part where the cutscene starts, so you can move as fast as you want. But I went on those green ledges because, like I say, they cancel spins. So right here. So now we're at prologue now. Now here comes the scary parts. So right out of the gate, we got a couple of encounters to dodge right here. We got to pick up a coin right here. Get the Fright Jar. And then we got to get the POW block right here and trigger the switch to open the bridge. And we got to make sure that you got to move fast enough so the Koopa doesn't see you. And as you saw earlier, when you hit an item block and an item pops out, the direction it falls out of is opposite the direction Mario is facing. So because I was facing right, it popped out to the left. There's a faster way to do that part where if you're facing to the left, the item pops out on the right, you hit the tree and then the item falls into you. So it's kind of like doing two tasks at the same time, but it's very tough. I've never pulled it off yet. So I don't do it. So I know I said we were picking up on coins, but we have to spend some money here. If we want to get through the castle fast, that was a little mistake right there. If we want to get through the castle efficiently, we're going to need all of these items right here. We're going to pick up a few more right before we get to the castle. Coming up is the tree minigame. The tree minigame does have some randomness involved where it can be in favor of you or against you. Of course, the ideal pattern is that out of the 4 trees, he hides in the left tree all 3 times because it's the one closest to the loading zone, so you can leave faster. And also because you don't have to move between trees each time. So you see right here, you want to hit him where he hides. And we actually got pretty unlucky tree randomness in this run. The hitboxes on these trees is really hard to hit. If you're not angling the hammer properly, it's very easy to miss the tree. So he's going to go to the right, which is very unfortunate. It's not too bad, but it does cost a few seconds. Nothing you can do about it. See, I missed the tree. Like I said, the hitboxes are very small for these trees. Again, this is more cutscene memorization where you gotta know, here's your item, and you say like you gotta press A at those specific points so you can go through the cutscene as fast as you want. Because he's gonna ask here, do you want to take him? Yes. So that's just through muscle reflex after you play the game multiple times. So right out of the gate, we're going to take advantage of one of our items we just bought, the Fire Flower. Because it's at the top of the menu, you can just spam the A button. That's why we bought Fire Flower last, because we're going to use it right away. And if you see right here, we're at 98 star points. We're just one battle away from leveling up, and that's kind of the point, as you'll see later. So this is part of the safe strategy. Normally we wouldn't get the HP Plus badge if you're playing the risky strategy for the final fight, but I picked it up. I wasn't feeling risky at the time, so it's like I'm just going to do the guaranteed win fight for Bowser. I don't know what the percent... When you do this safe strategy against Final Bowser, it's guaranteed win as long as you don't mess something up. But with the risky Bowser fight, you can lose and it's completely out of your control. Alright, so we have to cancel the spin early right here in order to get the coins and get past the Goomba. And then we have to pick up an item here to get past this spiked Goomba. And we're going to be on the top of the bridge right here, so to get the counter of that sent to the top right there so we can get by him. And we're going to pick up the Fire Flower. It took a while to get that mastered, and even then I still screwed up because sometimes the enemy movement is in a very unfortunate position, or they just don't notice you. That just happens. Sometimes they're so far off to the right that they don't normally notice you when they would. And then I get burned from that. So, if you're fast enough, you can get encountered with this Koopa without him first striking you. This is actually a mistake I made right here. I actually missed the active command, believe it or not. So instead of doing a short power shell, I had to do a fully charged power shell to kill the Koopa. And now we level up, so we get all of our FP points back that we just used. That's the point of like leveling up at very specific points. You want to level up when you're all out of resources so you can get a full restore to continue going without having to stop to heal. You have to get extra heal items, go to the Toad House. We're going to pick up another badge. This is one that we use a lot for the run. Yeah, it's a little, you want to be a little bit careful at that spot because sometimes he'll jump after you right away. So I was prepared to jump over his first strike if that happened, but in this case he didn't notice me. So sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. Yeah, that's a mistake right there. If you're if you're pointed just right, you can spin and just clip the POW block, the switch block, but that didn't happen. This is a scary part of the run. This is where the run can die right here. You have to first strike this flying Koopa Troopa, so that now you have both of them are on the ground, so you can use the POW block again. The next one coming up is the one where you have to use the Fright Jar. And the Fright Jar has a % chance that the enemy will run away. I believe it's like 90 or 91% for each Koopa that it'll run away. And you want to see how I move to the right a bit to avoid taking damage from that first strike. You want him to go down and go to you, but you don't want to take damage because that takes time. So as you see right here, made both of them run away, which is normal. It's like 80% chance that that works. So there's only a 1 in 5 chance that it fails on one of them. I've never had it fail on both. That's what, 1 in 100, maybe. So it's worth the risk. Because you saw how fast that fight went. So now we're going to jump over these fire sticks because each one gives us 10 coins. Like I said, we're trying to get to 50 by the end of this chapter. The way that the coins fall out is completely random. Sometimes you get good coin dispersal and sometimes you don't. This right here was actually really good coin drop right there. See, I was able to pick those up really quickly. So we're purposely going to fall into the trap because you're blocked by a locked key, so you have to take this trap. If you're pointing the control stick against the wall and you're up against the wall, you'll move to the left or right, as you see right there along the wall. It makes it faster as you're climbing, so because you can turn direction more easily. So we used up all of our resources from those fights, so we have to refill again. We got one more fight, and this one actually drops more coins, which is beneficial for us. So now we'll be at like 41, I believe. No, it's a little bit slower. Yep, so we're at 41. We're going to get 10 more coins from the cannon fight. And that'll put us at 51. This is a tough dodge here. You want to make him go after you twice. Because you want him to get away from that part where you have to blow it up to get the key, because he'll walk right back to that spot and he'll snipe Mario as you're waiting for the bomb to blow up. So you have to make him move twice. Now, coming up here is a trick that world record runners use, but I don't do it. It's a very tough trick to do. It saves about 15 seconds when I pull it off, but I don't like it very much. And when I get sick of dying at chapter 1, I stop doing it. So the trick is, you see these walls that jet all the way out to prevent Mario from moving. If you go all the way up to the edge, you can jump around the wall, believe it or not. You have to hold the control stick at just the right angle to jump around it. And you have to do it twice. You have to do it for the one back in the middle and the one on the left right here. And, if you fall off, you'll most likely get an encounter, and you have to climb all the way back up, and it's pretty much run over. You gotta move fast right here so the Koopa doesn't see you when you hit the switch. A little bit of slow movement right there. Like I said, yep. Like I said, I'm no expert on these movements, so if you're going for that world record, by all means, look at the world record holders and see how their video compares to mine. You will notice the differences. Just takes a lot of practice. I've been playing this for several, I think 2 years at this point. I almost fell off right there. You can't be too far up because you'll hit those Koopas right there. This part I hate. I hate this part. The cannon room. Blame it on my reflexes because for the life of me, I always accidentally get hit by these cannons. So this time I was so fed up with this part, I took it slowly here. So after this, I just go at walking pace. Wait for the cannon to that took a little slow. Wait for the cannon to go off, then set up the first strike with the bomb. As I'm situated under the refill block. Now we're gonna use our Thunderbolt and bomb. So we're able to kill these guys in one turn, because if you don't kill them in one turn, they're gonna create cannons, which takes more time. So because I'm right underneath it, we can refill and then have enough time to get all the way back here and collect all the coins before they disappear. I accidentally picked up one extra coin that I needed to. I'm at 51. That one on the left I should have ignored, because I just need 50. This battle is guaranteed win. You just gotta just chip away at his health. And we're gonna take advantage of the last 2 items we got. Yep, we use every single item and that we picked up in this chapter. Optimal item collection. So, this is the advantage of Bombette, because with the bomb move, not only do you make this pile up disabled, but it also knocks them down at the same time as well, so they don't attack. So we're going to use the POW block to keep them down, and we're going to skip Bombette's turn, because all we need is 3 more damage for each. So then, because my cursor, you saw right there, my cursor is already on the item, so I could just mash A right there. Because it's on the item block, and there's only one item left in my inventory, which is the Fire Flower. And that's Chapter 1. By far, one of the hardest spots in the run, believe it or not. Or the spot that has the most potential for resets. So when I make it past this spot, I am very happy. So I finish it around 37:15. With the pie jump, I can get it under 39 minutes. And after each chapter, we have to do a Peach intermission. Some are brain dead, and some you have to pay attention to. So I usually turn a video on during these points. it's basically the same thing. Peach goes out, gets information to send Mario, and then we go on with Mario. And after this, we're going to have yet one more time where someone asks, do you want to do a tutorial? Then you don't have to worry about that again. But this one's the easiest to forget. You know, you're past chapter 1, you're feeling good, you want to get through it as fast as possible, and then this tutorial text box pops up. So we have to backtrack here, unfortunately. So we have to dodge all those guys again. It's a little bit it's easier this time. Their movement is, I think, a little bit more consistent than going from left to right. You can just move that guy. You see, you can just make him go up from the top. But, you know, if you're not fast enough, this could be tricky still for first-timers. We're going to pick up the badge here on the way back, because as you see right here, there's no enemy here when you're walking back. And the only reason why there's no enemy here now is because we're going to have this fight with Junior Koopa again. So, you say yes. I know you want to say no, but say yes. It makes the text go faster. This is going to be another case where we level up at just the right time. We're going to use up all of our resources on this fight right here, and we're going to level up. So we get it all back. This is the only time where we're going to use a regular hammer attack in the entire run. The only reason why is because we're out of... we have 0 flower points, and he has a defense of 1, so we have to deal a 2 damage attack. So we get all of our flower points back again at just the right time. Now here's where another major time loss can happen, the badge shop. So this is what we've saved up our money for. We're going to get the Speedy Spin badge, which allows us to move very, very quickly from now on. However, this shop can only display 3 badges at a time, and there's going to be 4 options when you go in here. So there's a 25% chance that that badge will not be on display. And if it's not on display, you have to reload the area through 2 loading zones, which takes about 30-40 seconds. So every time it's not on display right there, you have to reset the area. And it takes about 30-40 seconds each time. If the run wasn't that good at this point and that happens, I reset. It's just too much time loss. You can press C down right away to make the bomb bed explode right away. So now chapter 2 is actually... I like this chapter because there's not many ways to die here. The only way you can die is if you screw something up. So this is one of my favorite chapters. A lot of it's just pure movement. That's most of where your time lost, time save comes from, is movement. There's not too many fights in this chapter. Now, I used to do a safe strategy right here. Now, you can get this Whack-A-Bump right here, which is a really powerful item. It's 25 HP and 25 FP, and you can reload the area and get multiple ones. In my old safe strategy, what I would do is you have to get one regardless, but I would pick up a second one, and I would sell that second Whack-A-Bump to get coins to buy 5 Thunderbolts, which is used in this chapter and through parts of the future chapters. But I've gotten to the point where I can pull off a trick in the chapter 2 dungeon where I don't need to do that anymore. But I believe under the speedrun guides for beginners guides, it references the use of that method, which is getting two of them and selling one of them and getting extra Thunderbolts. Which, for those who don't know, deal 5 damage to any target and breaks and through defense. So we're picking up all the letters right here. At least all of it's pretty much movement. Oh, that was a little bit of a mistake right there. I didn't cancel the spin. But overall, very good. Pretty good movement. Nothing major. So, instead of getting a second one, we just go straight back to Paracarry. So at this point, I was about 8 seconds behind my personal best, I think. Which is not pretty bad, because my personal best, Chapter 1 and 2, was really good. But you can see how much faster we are with that speedy spin. You see why it's worth getting all those coins. Like the amount of time we save from this badge is incredible. It also allows us to do many tricks and getting around enemies that we normally would not be able to do with our normal spin. He's going to ask, are you Mario, Luigi, or Peach? You say Luigi. And he's going to ask you twice, because when you go back, he asks you it again. However, so because we did not get the second bump, the Whack-A-Bump, we have to pick up 9 coins. So we get enough for about one more buying segment. So you memorize where you have to go in this desert. It's basically like a grid of areas, and you gotta memorize where you have to go. So I know right here there's coins in this block, so I get 9. I think I accidentally get 10. No, I got 9. Oh, but I had 1 extra because I got 51 instead of 50, so I probably should have picked up 1 less there. And then we're going to go into the Oasis and get a partner upgrade. And we're going to use it on Bombette, which is going to help us get through Chapter 2 really quickly. And we're going to pick up a life stream. One of the 2 mandatory life shrooms needed for the final fight. So if you lose any life shrooms, you have to pick up some extras. I'll point out where the you can get extras if you need them. But in this case, in this run, we did not lose life shrooms before the final fight. Now, normally you would have to interact with NPCs in order to figure out what the code is, but it doesn't change when you play the game a second time, so we already know what the code is. So we're just going to go right up to it and buy the sequence order of items we need to buy for the code. It's just the developer oversight. They didn't change the order of items. You can it's just the same thing. Dusty hammer, dried shroom, or dried shroom, dusty hammer. And then we pick up one thunderbolt because we're going to be doing this trick I recently gotten the hang of. Rather than getting 3 thunderbolts, 5 thunderbolts, when I would with my save strategy. So like I said, you can just walk down and the door opens. You don't have to press A when you're leaving doors from the inside. Again, so now we're just going to head to the dungeon. You just need to memorize where you need to go. This one's actually pretty simple because it's just left, up, left, left, up, left, up, left, up, left. Yeah, so this chapter right here, as you see right here, it's just mostly movement. The boss is easy as long as you don't mess it up. There's not many encounters to dodge, really, which is nice. So, if I ever lose time on this chapter, it's entirely my fault. But so far, so good. So right out of the gate, we have to get a badge right here. You have to move fast so he doesn't hit you. And remember, when we're picking up all these keys, remember you have to rotate the control stick in order to make that text box go away as fast as possible. If you do a full jump right there, as I did right there, you can skip jumping, having to jump twice to get to the switch. If you do a full jump at the edge right there, you can just barely reach the switch on one jump. There's a little bit of a harder trick right here, but I do the safe thing where I basically go around the beetle. Now coming up is the new trick that I started implementing, where you have to first strike one of the enemies, but how you need to lure the enemy towards you, but not too far so that Mario doesn't get hit. You set up the first strike with bombettes. Because if you can't do this trick, then you have to get extra thunderbolts. Because the flying enemies in these fights, you can't reach with a jump. So you need a hammer, you need a thunderbolt, or you need to use Parakarry shell shot. But that takes more FP, and we need all the FP we need right here because we need to use a power bomb, this is the new ability we got from that upgrade block in the Oasis. So, okay, so we're gonna encounter this guy on the right first. We're going to kill this, and we're going to use the one Thunderbolt we got for this flying enemy right here. That's a mistake right there. And then, like I said, so we're going to set up the bomb and try to lure the enemy to it. And we fail the first time, and we get it the second time. See, I should have waited a little bit longer. I left too quickly right here, so I have to wait. Okay, there we go. And then, now we have just enough FP. We have 3 left, so we can switch to Paracarry and do a Shell Shot to have just enough to finish it off. So like I said, if you can't, it's hard, as you can tell, because if you're too close, he'll hit you. And if you're too far away, he'll lose sight of you and walk away and move away. You gotta time it just right. And the advantage of switching to Paracarry is that we need to use him right away, so we don't have to. It skips a partner swap cutscene. This is a lot harder than it looks, jumping on these platforms as quickly as you can. You can't... If you just mash A, it's going to be too slow. You gotta jump at just the right time in order to go up these staircases at a decent enough speed. Yep. Oh, and one thing I did forgot to mention, we don't know why this is, but for some reason in this dungeon only, your controls are somewhat skewed. If you hold directly right and move to the right, you're going to be moving slightly downward as well. So when I'm moving right here, I need to hold the control stick slightly up, or else in order to go right on a straight right. So I had to be careful when I went up that staircase, because if you just hold directly left, you're gonna go down and fall off the staircase. So we got we get another partner upgrade, and we're gonna upgrade Paracarry. So that Shell Shot does 6 damage, which we need for the boss in this dungeon. And this is where we take advantage of our Wacka's bump. Because as you see right here, we're at 0 right now, so we need to get back to 15. Which is just enough to finish off the rest of the small fights we need before the final battle. This is where the power bomb really comes into use right here. It breaks through the defense and deals just enough damage to kill these guys. We got some backtracking right here to do. So yeah, you see here, I'm trying to go straight, but I keep going downwards because of this. The way, I don't know why the developers made it like this, but it is like that. So now we're gonna first strike this bomb. We're gonna first strike this chomp. And we're going to do... So it kills the first one, and we can do a regular bomb for this guy, so we only use 3 FP instead of 6. Because as you see right here, we have 6 left, and we need 1 more power bomb. So we do the first strike, so we have just enough FP to do 1 more power bomb. Because if we did power bomb there, we would be left with only 3. Now, if you fail that, if you somehow mess that up, you can use the star power refresh in order to get 5 FP back. Just in case that happens. Okay, that's a little slow right there. You've already you have to memorize where the stones are supposed to go. You find out right here where the stones are supposed to be placed, but it's faster to know where they are in the first place and put those 2 stones in there right away, so you don't have to backtrack to the left a bit and put the stones in, because we're gonna get the last stone right here and just put in the last one on the rightmost side. So like I said, one more fight, and we're going to use our last power bomb on this guy. We don't level up, but we have a refill block right before the boss, which is typical for this game. There's usually a refill block before each boss fight. This fight is it's for when I first started, it's very easy to mess up because your targeting cursor changes each time you set it up. I'll show you why. So when you first start, it's just this guy, but then after you do your first attack, he brings out a chomp who's in front of the boss. So you have to make sure you target the boss again and not the chomp. But if you're rushing through it, you might accidentally target the wrong thing. Also, the timing of the action command changes as well. So it's a pretty short jump when you start out right here. But as you'll see right here, once he brings out the chomp, the action command timing changes as well. So it's also easy to mess up the action command as well. So you see right here, change target, wait now. So I've made that mistake several times. Again, so the target changes again. You gotta make sure not him. You gotta target the Toon Koopa, and you have a slow jump, and that's it. We didn't pretty much gain or lose any time for my best. We maybe saved about 1 second. Pretty insignificant. Yeah. When you're at this skill, like Chapter 2 is pretty much a breeze compared to the rest. Chapter 3 is a different story. I wish each chapter was like Chapter 2. This Peach intermission, we have to sneak past some guards, very similar to like Ocarina of Time at the palace. You can see, what I do is pretty much as fast as you can possibly do it. You can't fast cycle them any faster than what I do here. Because Peach can't jump, you can just mash the A button to open the door as fast as you can. So we're going to go right away, get past this guy right here. We're going to follow behind this guy, wait for him to move up a bit, and then we can go forward. And then we're going to hide behind this book right here until he gets away right here, and then you can go past him. And that's it. That's as fast as you could possibly go. I mean, maybe if I was a little bit, I could have moved a little bit. I could have waited a little bit less, but I was on good. I was on pretty much on pace with my best, so I wasn't going to risk it. one thing I learned is what are the best spots in the run where you can take risks if you're falling behind. If I see them down like 30 seconds or a minute, I need to know what are the good spots to take risks on. Yeah, that's really bad. Oh, that's really bad right there. So we're going to pick up a Thunder Rage right here, which deals 5 to all enemies. That's another bad movement right there. Yeah, it's pretty sloppy movement right there. But I'm not going to let it discourage me. Still feeling pretty good. I nailed that jump right there, so like I can do this. Again, you gotta say Luigi. He's gonna think you're telling the truth again. And you gotta remember to pick up this flower seed right here. If you don't, it's pretty much game over, because you're not going to backtrack all the way down out to here to get this flower seed. We're actually going to be picking up another one in this chapter as well. And then there will only be one left that we have to pick up. If you didn't know, we got one the first one right after we got the Speedy Spin badge. That's how we get to chapter 6. You can skip the train cutscene going back by just mashing, I believe it's like start button, A button, and B button. And it'll skip the cutscene. So now we're going to go into Forever Forest, which is a little bit scary. Not because of the ghost, but because there's some tough encounters to dodge. You have to memorize the order at which you go, because it's basically, I believe it's like 4 paths each time you go into a new area. You just have to remember the order. And if you were playing it casually, you would know what way to go based on how the environment changes in each section, which one's different than the others. But we don't have time to do that, so we just memorize where we have to go. Alright, so tough encounter right here. There's a fuzzy right here. Got past it. And here's where we're going to pick up the 3rd flower seed. The piranha plants are pretty easy to dodge. You spin on the lower part of the pathway so he focuses downward, and then you go up. Same thing with this guy. Down, then up. That's how I do it. But the fuzzies, their movement is a lot more random. So here's the fuzz, the second guy. That's more scary right there. Alright, so no encounter forest. Very good. I can't say the same for chapters 6, 7, and 8, though. This is the Boo's mansion where you have to play a bunch of games to get the partner. When you're playing it casually, you might not know what door to go through first, but you need to know you need to go through this door first. The first game is picking up the record player right here. This one's pretty easy. You can lose some time based on which one he drops it on, because of course if he drops it on one where the moment you gain control of Mario, that Boo's on the rightmost side of the screen, and you have to go all the way over there to hit him. So I think we got pretty good with this one, if I remember correctly. No, I think we got. Yeah, that was pretty bad. He ended up being pretty far out there. Sometimes, like, he's just right next to Mario when you gain control and you can just jump. The record player is a little bit tricky to nail down the speed when you can gain control. You have to double task. You have to keep your eye on the keeping it within that zone on the thing, but also know exactly when the Boo reaches the leftmost part of advancing towards the record player, because once he gets to that point, that's when you can start moving. But if you go any earlier than that, then he's going to go back. So I've made that mistake a couple of times. It's because it's tough to keep track of both at the same time. But it doesn't... The next one is... The last game is by far the hardest for me. It shouldn't be that hard, but believe me, I have lost so many runs to this stupid minigame. It's basically the same thing as the record player one, for getting it, except they add an extra layer of difficulty where they pass it between Boos. And the problem is that whenever they throw the Boo to the one on the bottom right, it's tough to tell sometimes when it's the one that's just above it or below it. It basically becomes like a 50-50 chance when it's the last Boo, but thankfully that did not happen in this case. It was a clear as day which Boo it was, but my eyes play tricks on me in this game. And it's very sad to get this far in, lose. They have to reset the game again for you to play it again. It's so much time lost. It's like 30 seconds. So basically as if the badge shop didn't have the badge on display. Now here's one of my big mistakes right here. I accidentally pressed up too early. Yep. But it's a recoverable mistake. But I probably lost 5 seconds to that right there. Again, you want to hit A at just the right time to climb these staircases. Sometimes you'll see me hammer items to get them. It's easier. It's faster to sometimes pick up items with hammers. I did it with the Wacka's Bump, and I did it there with the portrait. We're definitely losing time in this split because of some of those sloppy movement and mistakes. But it's not horrifically bad. You can jump all the way down right there. You don't have to take the portrait to go down to the second floor and take the staircase down to the first floor. You can just jump right off right there. Those Goombas are really fast, so I just stay all the way at the top of the map to avoid any potential hit there. So this dungeon that's coming up soon, it's a lot of movement tricks. You're going to see a lot of stuff happening, and I'll try to explain as best as I can. But it's this chapter I hated for the longest time because I would constantly make mistakes because it took a long. Because you need to perform everything just right in order to get through this chapter quickly. So here's one trick I had to learn. So you have to be right on the edge right here, pick up the repel gel, but also get away from it to not get encountered by that Goomba right there. I was being a little bit conservative there. Okay, so right out of the gate, we're going to go to the left. It's a little slow right there. And what we're going to do is we're going to purposely get hit by this Clubba guy right here. So we're going to take a first strike, take 3 damage. We're going to do nothing, take 6 more damage so that we're at 1 HP. And that'll make sense once in just a few minutes. So we're going to get down to 1 HP. But this is part of the reason why this chapter is so risky. Because if you get first striked by anything in this chapter, you die. And it's bad because not only do you lose a life stream, you go back to 10 HP again, which you can't. You need to be at 1 HP for the boss fights, and I'll explain that in just a moment. So, any first strike after this point is game over. Those guys who pick you up and throw you out of the house, this is where the speedy spin really comes in handy, because normally you would not be able to get past these guys without the new partner bow, which allows you to be invisible. But because we're speedy spin, we can get past these guys with enough speed without the need for bow. It's a lot of time saved. So this is a part that's a little bit tricky right here. You gotta move fast up the staircase to get past this Clubba right there. So now here, we gotta make sure we're canceling these spins, because if you saw right there, if we're not fast enough, that guy will capture us and throw us out of the house. Now coming up is another really hard trick as well. The spike room. Another reason... Okay, so we're going to wait for the spike to come down, and we have to quickly go through and jump at the last second, and you, with the speedy spin, you can get through this maze in the one cycle and not need bow. It took a long time to get the hang of, and I still make mistakes on that. Each one costs like, I don't know, 15, 20 seconds every time you mess it up. This is a trick where it's a little bit of an exploit, but it is allowed under glitchless rules. Now we're going to pick up the rush that we're going to abuse for being at 1 health and for the rest of the run, basically. Here's another trick where if you move slowly and then don't move, you can get past this sleeping crow right there. So the Mega Rush badge that we just picked up, when we are at 1 HP or peril, all of our attacks increase by 4. And we're going to abuse this mechanic for a lot of boss fights. You want to make sure all of them wake up, and then you move up slightly and then down, so that you can get past all these guys. Now I know I screw up, yeah, I really screw up the movement right there, but very good castle. I pulled off all the tricks. I got the maze right away, first try. So very good castle. The rest of it is just backtracking with not much to worry about. So I'll explain. So the mechanic we're gonna do for this fight. So we're gonna equip 2 badges. The one we got in the Koopa's castle, which was the power bounce, which allows us to attack multiple times with our jump as long as we hit the action command over and over and over and over again. But because we're at 1 health and equipping the Mega Rush badge, every single one of those jumps increases its attack by 4. So that's like the exploit right there. So instead of doing 1, 1, 1, 1 for each jump, it's 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, basically. But I will note that you cannot jump for bosses, you cannot jump infinitely. They put caps on how many jumps you can do with the power bounce, depending on each boss. Each boss has their own limiter. And it's based on a probability matrix. I know you can find it out if you Google it, the power bounce cap page. Someone created a Google Sheets on it that estimates the probability for each bounce number for each boss. Because like I said, it's different for each boss. So it could say like you can get 3 bounces is guaranteed minimum, but 4 bounces you only have a 63% chance of getting, and then 5 bounces is 40%, 6 bounces is 30%, 7 bounces is 5%, etc., etc., etc. So technically you could hit infinite bounces, but that's a 1 in a trillion like probability we're talking about. So right before the boss, we have to equip these badges. So we're going to do a quick badge menu right here. So we're going to unequip the badges that we were currently wearing and put on the Power Bounce and Mega Rush because we still only have 3 badge points. But once we level up after this fight, we're going to get 6 badge points so we can put the Speedy Spin back on. So what we want to get from this fight is we want to get like 5 bounces for each turn, I believe. So we get 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So because we got 6, we only need 4 bounces for the next jump. But I think I actually made a mistake and I miscounted, so I ended up doing 1 extra bounce than was needed. So I got 5 bounces on this one, when I should have stopped at 4. So if you see one thing that you notice, so when Mario jumps away from the boss when he's doing these power bounces, if he like jumps high as he's moving away from the guy after the power bounce, it means that I got capped. That's where the limiter set prevented me from doing any more power jumps. However, if Mario jumps like low and directly falls down, it means that I messed up the action command and I could have gotten more bounces if I hit the action command right. So sometimes you'll see Mario jump down low, and that means that I didn't want to do either I messed up the action command or I didn't need any more power bounces. It was guaranteed kill at that point. So we're still in peril, so a normal jump does 6 at this point. 2 plus 4, 2 plus 4. So now we're going to get 6 badge we're level up so we can get 6 badge points at this point. So very good chapter. So I'm feeling very good. Hardly any mistakes so far. This is very, very good pace. I think I saved about like 3 seconds from my personal best. So right before we pick up this star card, we're gonna re-equip the badges we took off. And that's chapter 3. So lots of tricky movement, lots of practice. But no randomizer moments. Like, any mistake here is entirely my fault. Now, Chapter 4 is a different story. There is one spot in Chapter 4 where there's something that's completely out of our control, and if it happens, it's game over. This Peach intermission is actually one of the easiest ones. You just have to answer 3 questions from Bowser. He's gonna ask what is Mario's weaknesses, and for the first 2 questions, we say beneficial. We trick Bowser in saying beneficial items, a mushroom and a Thunder Rage. But for the third one, we actually say an enemy. But because the reason why we say for the third question we say an enemy is because it doesn't matter for our run because we don't go into the room where that enemy spawns, and because the enemy is at the top of the text box, we just press A. It's right here, A. So because it's right at the top of the list, and that doesn't matter, so it's just faster to just smash A right there. Now coming up here is the next Junior Troopa fight. And this fight leaves no room for error. No room. If you mess up one thing on this fight, you die. Now, it's not a game kill, it's not a run ending death. Because you do have because even if you lose a life stream, you can still finish him off. But that means you have to pick up an extra life stream. We're going to be doing a bunch of extra things to deal just the exact amount of damage it takes to kill him. So if we mess up one, like I said, so if we mess up one thing, it's not enough to finish him off. And it's a very specific things as well. So if you forget one thing, that could also happen. So instead of doing a power jump, we're going to use the Thunder Rage we got from the desert, because it does 5 instead of 4, I believe. So Shell Shot, and we're gonna block this one with the action command, and then we're gonna let him do full damage to me the next fight, because now we're at 1. So Mega Rush kicks in again, and so by doing a 5 bounce, which the cap only starts at 6, I believe. So you see right there, Mario jumped down low. That means I could have hit him for more damage if I wanted to, but I knew that 5 bounces was all I needed. So now we go into Chapter 4, which is pretty boring to watch, to be honest. I mean, it's pretty engaging, involved when you're speedrunning it, but from someone just watching someone speedrun it, it's pretty boring because it's a lot of fetch quests and backtracking. Twink tells us the Peach information, but we already know where the Shy Guys are hiding, so we just go directly to the house. We normally would talk to NPCs to figure out where they're hiding, but we know exactly where they're hiding because it's the same every time. And we know that we have to hide right here so that the Shy Guy shows where the secret door is. So this is where the items that Peach told the Bowser come into play. So here's the first one, mushroom. This is actually a good point because this is a safe strategy I use. There is a spot in this game where you can get an encounter by something and you have no sometimes you have no ability to get away from it because you're locked in a cutscene. So if you remember, we're at 1 health right now. We're still at 1 health. So if we get first struck by that guy, we lose a life stream. Now here's one of my big mistakes. I fell off the platform. Yep, so that probably cost about like 6 seconds. So I actually eat the mushroom. That's bad right there. So as a safe strategy, so that even if it's rare, but it can happen, this guy snipes you, you're not going to lose a life stream. Now, in the future, I'm probably going to be abandoning this safe strat in order to save time. Now, if I was falling behind, I would have skipped that mushroom and just went for it in order to save time. Because, you know, you have to pick up the mushroom, you have to eat the mushroom, all that time. Here's a spot where using the hammer really matters. Because you see right there, you didn't have to walk all the way over to the Volt Room to get it. You can just hammer it. As you see right here, I'm walking on all... that's a mess up right there. But you try to spin on those ledges so it cancels all the spins. Now, you have to remember to put the toy train in the chest first before you jump back in. That's another spot where I can easily make a mistake if you're sort of just playing by reflex. You can skip this cutscene, again, by mashing Start A and B. So now, here comes the second item that Peach told Bowser, which is Thunder Rage, which we actually do use regardless. We absolutely need the Thunder Rage. I almost screwed up right there. Now, in this spot, you have to wait for the Shy Guy to walk towards the blue door for him to spin it. So you have to wait for that. We're going to get the Ice Badge, which is for Chapter 5. This Thunder Rage is also for Chapter 5. Same thing right here. We have to wait for the shy guy to spin the door, or else we're going to encounter him. So here's where the sniper can hit you. It's right here. So you're locked in this movement right here. But if that shy guy was enough to the right, he would be able to hit you, and you would be locked in place at the same time. But it didn't happen, so I'll take it. We lost some time being safe when it didn't matter. Yep, this is the annoying part. We have to get on the train again. We have to leave the box again to get this item back to the owner. Let's see if I get the movement good right here. Yep. So this is how it's supposed to kind of look right there. Going up these short ledges to cancel the spins. Now, if you're picking up extra items, like remember I said like the safe strat where I would get like 5 Thunderbolts and stuff, you have to be careful about how many items you have, because if you have too many, I've had cases where I made routes where it didn't work because when she gives you the cake, you have too many items, and she says, "Oh, you don't have enough space." So you gotta make sure you don't have too much in your inventory when you're doing safe strategies. But because I do that trick in the desert ruins with the first strike, I have no Thunderbolts in my inventory, so I don't have to worry about that. You want to be a little bit careful with these encounters. That guy can snipe you. There's a little bit of a trick with this one guy you have to dodge an encounter from. The one guy after this, the flame shy guys. They move the moment they see you. So when you first see this guy, you have to move right away, because as you see right there, they're very, very fast. So the moment they are within your camera view, you gotta go. Because if you're even the slightest bit slow, they'll hit you. But that's the end of the fetch quests. Now this is actually a hard trick that I actually ended up managing to pull off. If you go to the right here, you can trigger the station button, and I pulled off all 4 spins to hit these blocks. Normally you would have to figure out what order this is by going talking to NPCs and doing the actual story and going in these rooms, but it's the same every time. Just like the thing with the code of buying items in the dry desert. So we can just hit the code and just go to the next area. Now coming up is a very, very hard spot and a very scary spot. Now first, I'm going to get back to full health and full FP. I'm going to pick up a safety item right here, a safety shroom, super shroom. You have to pick up the Volt Shroom really quickly, so you can first cycle this platform right here. You want to go so you can get that. Then you have to go really quickly and not get that pyro guy. He's really fast, and you gotta get up on that platform. Now here comes here's the mini boss where you can die and it's completely out of your control. Remember I talked about power bounce caps, where this is a fight where it actually really matters. So we're gonna set up Peril. So we're gonna get Volt Shroom, which does damage to him whenever he attacks. We're gonna block 1 of 2 attacks. We're gonna do nothing. Switch to Gumbario, which is the only time we use Gumbario in this run. So now we're gonna use Gumbario to make the Lantern Ghost visible. Then we're gonna Power Bounce. Oh, that was almost hit the wrong button. So we got 2, 3, 4, 5. Now, if we get double 4 capped, which means we got 4 bounces on both attacks we're going to use with Power Bounce, it's not enough to kill, and he's going to kill us, and we lose a life stream. And that's bad for 2 reasons. 1, you lose a life stream, and 2, you're not in peril anymore. And we need to be in peril walking into the final fight. This is where I'll point out one of the unfortunate disadvantages I have with using this capture card. It makes the black completely black. Normally, when you're playing it just through without a capture card, just straight to the TV, you can, if you have the TV brightness cranked all the way up to the top, you can see in the darkness. And it doesn't really matter much for that part right there, but it does matter for a spot in the final Bowser in Chapter 8. Because you can... The method of going through the darkness when you can't see is using Watt to light up the area. And then you have to swap out the partner each time you have to use Parakarry to jump over a ledge. I'll show you when it happens, but... I probably lost maybe like 30... I probably lose 30, 40 seconds that I normally could obtain if I wasn't using this capture card. This is actually a pretty long boss battle because he uses a lot of his minions. That was a little bit of a mistake right there. But thankfully we're in peril right away, so we can just mow down these minions right away. Alright. First fight, Power Bounce. 3 bounces. 3 bounces is all you need. So we don't do any more than that. And here actually comes a spot where we use a Starstorm for one of 2 times in this entire run. It's a very convenient spot to use it because both these guys have 7 health. We normally don't use Starstorm a lot. People wonder why we don't use Starstorm because it's so powerful, but you see how long the animation is. It's an extremely long animation, and our Peril Mega Rush Power Bounce combo is much faster. But in this case, it ended up mattering, so we use it. So I believe these guys have 10 health, so we're going to do a normal jump on one of them, and then we're going to the disable power on the next guy. So we have enough time to kill that guy too. So now we go into this guy, and this is where our Repel Gel comes into hand that we got from Chapter 3. So now he can't hit us for 2 turns. And we're just going to start dealing damage to him. Now, you want him to use bombs and not this electrical lightning strike, because it's a lot faster. His animation for using bombs is a lot faster. But I think we got unlucky here and got 2 lightning strikes, which was unfortunate. Same thing, same method, using the Power Bounce Mega Rush combo. Oh no, so we got 1 bomb. Okay. And then that's enough damage to kill him. So I actually did really good with this chapter. I saved like maybe like 10, 13 seconds. So I'm like slightly ahead of my best at this point. But now we have to suffer through the most tedious part of the entire run, which is baking a cake. Yes. And this is the one of the Peach intermissions where you can't sleep through. So we have to bake a cake for the gourmet guy who we gave the cake to in Chapter 4. It's common is you're using ingredients, you're stirring it, put in the oven, all yada yada yada, all that. You'd have to mess up so badly if to do this wrong. We have to wait a little bit for the guard to move. Just enough so that you can slip by him right there. To get out of his vision range. It's the same ingredients every time, so we just memorize it. Thank God. We're stirring. You don't have to you don't have to mash that hard. So now we're going to put in the oven. So Twink says 30 seconds, but the game made it so that it'll pass if you do it with like plus or minus 7 seconds. So it works for 20. It works if you put it in the oven for 23 to 37 seconds. So I do like 23, 24 seconds. The very tail end of the cutoff point for early bake. And this is where actually having a splitter next to me, you can't see it, but when I play, I have my live split program telling me my time, and it actually ends up being useful because then I can count exactly to 24 or 23, 24, so I know exactly when to stop. So yeah, needless to say, if you mess this up, it's game over. You have to go through all that all over again if you mess it up. And now we go into Chapter 5, which is one of the hardest chapters of the game. Why? Because you have to use very tough skills to get around encounters. I practice these encounter dodges over and over and over and over again, and it's still not guaranteed. I will try to explain some of them. Thankfully, I ended up pulling off many of the tricks, so you get to see how they work. I only failed one of them, which is pretty impressive for me. I usually fail like one or two. Two, usually. So you have to do a small mini-boss, and this mini-boss is convenient because it helps us set up peril right away. You can hit him early right here if you jump just at the right. See, I failed right there, but if you jump at just the right angle, you can hit him early. But I failed, so I had to wait till he jumps back in. So this is going to be a case of do nothing, do nothing, do nothing, do nothing until you get down to 1. And then just power jump to kill him in 1 hit. Now, coming up here is... Well, first I will mention that because you're going through the text really fast, there is a spot here where you can soft walk the game. Right as Colorado, as you start moving, there's a text box that pops up right there. If you talk to Colorado when that small text box appears over his head, you'll soft walk the game. So make sure you're not pressing A during that spot. But coming up right here is by far the most embarrassing mistake in my entire run. And I'll explain what I was trying to do. What I was trying to do is I was going to hit an invisible block to get an extra repel gel. You need at least one to do the safety Bowser strategy, final Bowser strategy, but I just thought I might not be able to kill him before my repel gel runs out. Now I would have to use my second life stream and have to sit through my second life stream death. But I thought if I get another repel gel, I could just put the next one on and skip that. But as you can see right here, I was completely off on where it was. It's off to the right. It's like where the stone is. I was just slightly off. So I eventually gave up. It's like, okay, what am I doing? I'll just stick with one repel gel. But as you can see, I'm screwing up my spins now because I'm so mad at this point that I missed that. I've lost like 10, 12 seconds to that. And I have nothing to show for it. So here comes one of the, by far, the hardest segments of the run, which is rescuing the Yoshi kids. So many encounters to dodge, and each one has their own. You have to know the specific way to get around them. But first, we pick up the second to last partner, Sushi. That was a mistake right there. Yeah, I think I was still mad from that repel gel mess up. Yeah, I'm just making mistakes left and right here. So the first guy we have to get around is, because we have to pick up the Power Quake badge. It's on a circle island, and he's standing right in the middle of it. So you have to move him around while you're picking up this badge, which is right in the middle. This guy right there. So what we're going to do is that we're going to get him to notice us, get back in the dock so he doesn't see us, and then quickly go right across and get the badge. When you go back onto that wooden dock right there, he loses sight of you. So you're going to go to the top left, make him go to the left, go up a bit, so that, and then go to the dock so he doesn't see you, and then go straight right so you can make a beeline for the badge and get it. We have to switch to get to the Power Quake badge right here. And now that we have the Power Quake badge, we can hit these guys in one shot because they have 8 health. And this does exactly 8. Under peril. So that's the... you gotta make sure that when enemy dies, don't pick up any of the heart pieces that fall from that. You saw one fall. Oh, that's another mistake right there. So coming up here is the hardest encounter to dodge, and this is the one that I failed. You have to move him all the way to the right, wait for him to lose sight of you, and the moment he loses sight of you, quickly spin over to the bush to open them up. But unfortunately, I was a little bit too early. Yeah, I was too early. Yep, see, I was too early. He didn't lose sight of me. So he went out right after me. Now, this is the first time where you see I have to run away. I almost failed to run away right there. So if that had happened, it would have probably been game over. So that was by far the scariest part of the run right there. That could have easily ended it right there. But thankfully, it did not. But thankfully, I nailed pretty much everything else. This one's pretty easy. No encounter to dodge. No encounters to dodge here. That's a movement mistake right there. Pick up the Fright Jar. Now, this guy, you gotta move him all the way down to the bottom, wait till he not uses you, and then gun for it as he's down. That's a really tough one. And this guy, I just go for it. Sometimes he doesn't jump all the way up like that, but I took a chance on that one right there. So now what we're going to do is walk all the way up to that spot right there, switch to Bombette, and you can actually first strike this fight. So we're going to first strike it, and the reason why is for conservation of our FP points. So we're going to normal jump the one on the right, for exactly 12 to kill it. And then we're going to use a regular bomb, which costs 3. This is the same strategy we used in the Dry Ruins with the Chomp. Same thing, same strategy again. So now we have 10. We need exactly 10 for the last fight before going into the dungeon. So we have to go past the Fuzzy again. This time we go down, wait for him to jump over us, and then we go. So like I said, so you have all these encounters to dodge, and you have to know exactly how to get around them. So I would recommend like watching world record guys do their magic and getting around these guys, and you can see exactly what you need to do to get around those guys. Most of my time save came from this chapter. Going through that Yoshi rescue thing with only one encounter, and then doing really good, well, for the most part, on the dungeon that's coming up, saved me an insane amount of time. So you have to move all the blocks in place. This is the one where you just have to memorize. And you gotta be careful, as you see right there. If you're sloppy, you can clip. One more area, and then we're going to do the final fight before the dungeon. So this is where we're going to need our FP, because now that we're at 10, this allows us to beat the fight a lot faster. Because we can actually do an untimed Power Quake. We could just go left and release right away for 6, and then do Power Bomb for the next 6 for 12. If you were short on FP, you can use Starstorm, but like I said, it's a very long animation, so it's going to cost you some time. This is a lot of movement, climbing up this tree as fast as you can, jumping at the right time. And now we have some cutscenes to sit through. It's a good, relaxing spot. This dungeon coming up has a lot of really tough tricks to hit, and there is some luck involved. And we actually get the best luck possible where there is luck involved. And I'll explain that when it pops up. We only make one major error in Chapter 5. we get the Ultra Stone, which allows us to power up our partners an additional time, which actually we use right away. We upgrade Paracarry to Ultra rank right away after this, during this dungeon. Okay, so coming up at the very first thing is the hardest trick, actually, which is quick jumping over these platforms to get an early cycle on the moving platform. If you can jump over all these things really fast enough, you can reach the platform before it starts moving away, which saves about 20-25 seconds. So we get here. So you got spin, jump, spin, jump, spin, jump, spin, jump. A full jump at the very end, and you can make it. I just barely made it. So I was really pumped that I got that, so I was feeling really good at that point. Got a good Yoshi Kids rescue, got one of the hardest tricks in this dungeon. So we're going to pick up another life shroom, which is the second life shroom. So those are the two easiest life shrooms to get, the Dry Desert one and this lava one. And I'll explain later where the extra shrooms are when they pop up. So here's the biggest error I make. This is a tough trick to do, where you can clip past the edge right there, and instead of having to walk all the way down and use Paracarry to get across, you can spin and get down there and not have to walk all around. So I failed twice. So I failed once, tried again, failed again, and I got it on the third try. So that was probably like 15 seconds lost right there. And I almost fell off right there, too. But I didn't let it get to me. It's like, no, I nailed that trick at the beginning, so I should be still saving time. So this is where we use getting Paracarry to Ultra Limit rank right there. So we're going to use that for the boss fight in this dungeon. That's a mistake right there. The reason why I'm messing around like this is you can't early cycle this lava platform, so you just want to make sure you don't get encounters here. There's no way around this. You have to wait for the lava platform to go all the way back. Okay, so we move right to get the Piranha's attention, then we get out of the way. This is a tedious part right here where you have to get the ball rolling. There's a trick to skip his cutscene right here. So if you're just positioned below it, right there, you can clip inside and get through the loading zone before you have to sit through a Colorado cutscene. And if I was fast enough right there, I might have been able to skip that cutscene too, but it has to be like perfect. So we're gonna do one badge change right here, Power Quake for ice power. Then we're gonna go into this fight. This fight's a little scary because hitting the action command is tougher than most. It's a bit of a delayed damage effect. So right away we're going to use Thunder Rage from the Shy Guys toy box we got. And we're going to Air Raid, which is the new move that we get from Ultra Rank Parakarry, which is going to disable the side piranhas. So we just have to worry about the main guy. So we have to dodge one of the two of these. So we got the first one, so it's good. So we don't have to worry about the we don't have to worry about the next shot. So deal some damage. This is where the ice power comes into play. Fire damage guys take more damage. So we're in peril. And we do 4 bounce, which is guaranteed. And then we go into phase 2. Now here's the part where I get extremely good luck. So you can get, this is where the power bounce limit changes. You can get 3 bounce, 4 bounce, 5 bounce, and 6 bounce. And you want to get 6, because 6 allows you to kill him in 1 turn. Not only that, it not only does it kill him in 1 turn, it also skips a cutscene with Colorado. And I miraculously got the 6 power bounces, which is very rare. So like that alone saved like 20 seconds, maybe more, from getting 6 bounces on that phase 2. So I'm really pumped up now. I nailed most of the tricks, the Yoshi's Rescue, and got to 6 bounce on the Piranha. I had plenty of time to spare to get a decent run from this run. Which is good, because a lot of the mistakes I made in the next few chapters after this kind of canceled it out. So if you were to get 5 bounce, if you were not be able to kill the Piranha in 1 turn, you would take that advantage to switch out Parakarry to Bombette, so that you can not need to do a partner change right here and blow up the wall. So we do lose a little bit of time. This is the only time loss we get from this split, which is, well, at the start, which is having to switch to Bombette right here when we normally wouldn't have to. And then we do the Peach intermission again. This Peach intermission's not too bad. So this at this point right now, this was the farthest ahead I was in the entire run. From here on, it's time loss. we do a quiz show in this Peach intermission. And what we're going to do is that we're going to make it a tie between the opponents. Because if it's a tie, it skips a cutscene where the guy awards a gift. And we're going to skip it entirely by having it a tie. If it's a tie, he doesn't give it to anyone. So what we're going to do in order to do that is that we're going to vote the top answer for the first 9 questions, and then we're going to select the second option on the last question because that's actually a correct answer, but we want to get that last question wrong to make it even split tie. We hit the top answer for all of the first 9 because, of course, hitting the top one is the fastest. Yep, so we just keep getting wrong, right, wrong, right. So yeah, so for the last one right here, we get the wrong one, so we can get a tie. But he still gives the consolation prize, which we use for the Chapter 6 intermission. The reward is, I believe, a jam and jelly. But we get a jam and jelly along the way, so we don't need it. We're actually going to pick up one of the 2 jam and jellies right here. We're going to use it, and we're going to use it right away for the first fights in Chapter 6. But before we go back to Toad Town, we have to do a lot of setup right here. So, get the jam and jelly, which is hidden right here. We have to go and get the treasure chest that fell out to get the case. So we can give it to Colorado, and he gives us the last flower seed, which allows us to go through the door to Chapter 6. I have forgotten to do that one time. That was bad movement right there. So I have a bunch of notes here on the setup before you get on the whale to go back to Toad Town, because you're put right into the fight against Junior Troopa right away. You have to swap to Parakarry, you have to put on the Spike Shield, you have to take, what else? Let's see here, yeah. Put on the Power Quake, yeah. So you have to do all that before you get on the whale, because if you forget to do that, you're not going to win against this guy. Now this is where my my strategy has changed, because normally I wouldn't get the Spike Shield badge, and instead I would just get 2 Thunderbolts. So instead of power jumping with Spike Shield twice, I would Thunderbolt twice. That's slower because you have to buy, so you have to sell the Wacko's Bump, you have to buy the extra Thunderbolts, you have to do all that stuff. But it did come with a positive with that previous safe strategy I used to follow because it allowed me to equip Dizzy Spin, which allowed the moles that's coming up soon to be guaranteed kills. Whereas with this new strategy, it's a lot more risky. And I'll explain how that works in just a bit when we get there. So this Junior Troopa has a spiked head and is flying. So in order to hit him, you either need an item like Thunderbolt or you need Spike Shield Badge. And we picked up the Spike Shield Badge at the entrance of the Dry Ruins in Chapter 2. And we're going to use this fight to get partially to Peril. We're not going to block. We're going to take 6 damage from it. So we get through this fight, and then we open the door to Flower Fields. Flower Fields is another kind of annoying chapter. It's a lot of fetch quests. Oh, so there's a mistake right there. I accidentally closed the menu. That's what happens sometimes can happen when you're going with the text, when holding B to make the text scroll fast, and then you have to press A to actually give the items. So you can accidentally press B and when they ask you for the item. And that's what happened there. Small mistake, but these small mistakes add up. So the first round of fights we're going to do is the most terrifying part, because this is where you have to rely on chance and probabilities. You have to use a Fright Jar, which is the same thing that we used in Chapter 1. And they're not as effective for these guys. And you have to use one of Parakarry's moves that we haven't used yet, which is Airlift, which is removing a guy from the battlefield. But you have to mash A to get the max as high of a probability as you can get. But even if you button mash as hard as you can, you're not going to get to 100%. So it's a probability that doesn't work either. So I have in my notes a lot of backups to what to do if like Fright Jar fails for both, if Airlift fails, because you gotta be careful of how much FP you have left. So it works on 1, which is good enough, which is average. So then we're gonna Airlift, and it works. So good. Basically, that's about as good as it can get. Airlift works, and Fright Jar worked on one of them. So for this guy, we're going to tank to get down to 1 health. So now we're in peril. And now we can easily get rid of the next 2 moles. So we're going to use Jam and Jelly to get back to 20, because we're going to need all 20 FP to get through these 2 fights. Pick up the berry for the fetch quest. So we're going to do the same strategy as what we did in Chapter 5, where we do an untimed Power Quake and an Air Raid. Well, in Chapter 5 we used the Power Bomb, but this is the same thing. Same amount of damage as the Power Bomb. So you can see how crazy it would be going into this fight without this combo, because you got 3 of them and now 4 of them. But this allows them very quick fights. Very, very quick fights. So, very good start to Chapter 6. We get one of the 3 key items we need to get to the boss, which we need the bean, the soil, and the water. So this is one of the 3. So in my notes, the backups made sure that I did not run out of flower points. You know, if airlift fails, if I had to airlift both of the moles, if the fright jar failed on both of the moles. So this is a really tough spot right here to get past these encounters right here. It took me a lot of practice to get through these guys. You gotta be very, very, very careful when getting around these guys, and you have to do it 4 times. That was 2 of the 4 times. You have to go through that area 1 more time. We only went there to get the yellow berries so we can get through this gate. This is a little bit scary, but it's only if you mess it up. This is where we get the fetch quest for the water. And you have to, you can't just go straight to get the items you need. You have to talk to this person or for the other NPCs to kick in that, oh, I need to give you this item. So don't forget to pick up the blueberry. I have forgotten to pick up the blueberry in the past. But so far, so good. We're actually going to do something a little bit interesting with this fight. It's faster for all enemies to die at the same time. Because if you kill an enemy one at a time, their death animations, you have to sit through all of them. So what we're going to do is that we're going to do air raid first. So as you see right here, those little shell guys, they have defense. So they took less damage from it. And that allows us to use Starstorm, which finishes them off, but they all die at the same time. Now, because if we did Starstorm first, it would kill those shell guys right away. We would have to sit through their animations, and then Parakarry would do air raid and then kill the lackeys, and then we would have to sit through the death animation again. So it's faster to use air raid first, then Starstorm instead of the other way around. Lots and lots of backtracking in this part. So we need that item. She needs a different item. So we have to go back and get that item. So we're going back again. So this is where a mistake I made. So I get around the bee, but the cloud didn't lose track of me, and if I had moved to the right anymore, the bee would have spotted me again. So I had to run for it, but unfortunately the cloud was able to hit me. So that's one unneeded encounter right there. So far only 2 unneeded encounters, but that's going to change pretty soon. Alright, getting past the cloud on here is easy because you can just go down that path right there for him to lose sight of you. Go back again. Go through the maze again. Yep, pretty boring stuff if you're playing this casually. But when you're speedrunning, it's terrifying because you have to go through those bees and clouds. You gotta make sure you're doing fully pressed A jumps on those things. You can't short jump those. So now we're done with the fetch quests. And now it's just the mini boss and a couple of one more fight. So what we're gonna pick up an extra bubble berry here. We normally only need one, but what I like to do is I like to get an extra bubble berry because there's a spot coming up in chapter 7 where you need to be at full health, and if you take any damage at all, it's very, very risky going into a fight. So I get an extra bubble berry to heal the full health in case that happens. I'll explain later as we get towards it. Now here is the same situation as we're in Shy Guy's toy box, where I told you that enemy can snipe you when you're locked in position, so we ate the mushroom. This is the same case. This bee on the other side here can snipe you when you're trapped, when you're in this bubble. Now, we actually end up encountering it, but by accident. So he didn't attack us right away, thankfully, but as I'm trying to get to the log, he hits me. Thankfully, he did not first strike me, though. So, and we were able to run away. So, we got off pretty scot-free there. So, what we're going to do here is that we're going to take 1 spike damage right here. Because the mini-boss we're going to face right here deals 4 damage for each attack. So, when he does 4 damage each, he'll put us at 1 in peril. So we can use the power bounce again. This is another big mistake I made here. The bombette wasn't close enough to the boulder to blow it up. I knew it right away, like, nope, that's not close enough. So I had to walk all the way back, reset up the bomb again, so that probably cost, like, maybe 8 seconds. And some more as I gang up the platform. And I have to remember to switch to Paracarry before I walk into the next area for a spike. Lackluster. Yeah, there's a lot of setup for this for Lackluster. So I've made mistakes in the past where, like, oh, I was at 10 health and not 9 health, I didn't switch to Paracarry, etc, etc, etc. But when everything's right, you can just chip away at his health. He'll hit you twice. And it's a good thing you don't have to block here, because that's one of the hardest action commands to hit, to dodge, to block that. It's one of those delayed type hit damages again. It's not till like the spike bounces off you that you have to press A. Now we actually got a little unfortunate. Actually, no. Okay, so we got 5 bounces, so we only have to skydive, but sometimes you only get 4 bounce there. And if you get 4 bounce there, you have to use shell shot, and if you use shell shot, you're going to be a little bit short on flower points for the next fight. So you have to pick up an FP restoring item along the way. The second answer is fastest. Nope, that was a mistake right there. And we almost get another encounter here as well. This is a really, really tough spot. See, I can't believe I missed that. That was very lucky. Simple puzzle. Memorize it. Another difficult reminder to swap to a new partner before a fight. I've forgotten that too. So because we we didn't have to use shell shot, we can just do the normal combo, which is the shooting star that we picked up right before Lackluster and air raid. And this is the first time in a level up that we're going to heal up our HP. And like I said, we level up at just the right time, because now we're at full stats for the boss fight. And that's good, because this is one of the few cases where there isn't a refill block. So if we had to refill, we would have to go through the tree door, back to Toad Town, sleep in the inn, go through the door again to get to Flower Fields. So that skips all of that. I almost screw up here. Yep. But had I gotten that encounter right there, like if I took damage, that's where like I could use my backup super shroom that I got in Shy Guy's toy box, or the extra bubble berry I got. So that's why I keep all those extra health items with me, just in case I'm short of health before a fight where I need to be at full health. Now coming up here is my second most embarrassing mistake of the entire run. It's a trick where you can speed up a platform to get to a badge. You have to get this badge regardless. But this platform moves very slow. It's going to show in here in just a moment. So see the one that's rising right there, up above, right there, to get to the bigger cloud. That's the moving platform. So what you can do is that you can go to the right, go into the loading zone to the next area, then go back into that central area to reload it again, and the cloud will be at its lowest level. So you can rush over there and quickly get on top of it quickly as it's rising. Because if you don't, then you have to sit there and wait for it to go down before you can jump on it. So you can see right there, it's at like its top. So it's a little slow. So so you can leave the area, reload it, and then get on it just as it's rising. But unfortunately, I miss. So I have to go back and reload the area once again. I could not believe I missed that. I forgot that, do you see right there? You can't be in front of the cloud. You have to be like behind it or on the side of it. Thankfully, I do this menu pretty well right here. I had to take a lot of stuff on, take a lot of stuff off. We put on the new badge. What the new badge does, it allows us to charge up our jump attack. And we abuse this for a lot of the boss fights coming up, including this one right here. So we're just going to sit back and charge up. Do nothing. And then we're going to get into peril. And as we're waiting to get into peril, we're actually charging up. And you can stack this. We want to hit for 6 exactly here. And now, as you see right here, we do our mega attack. We actually do get unlucky here. We actually got 4 caps, so we have to finish it off with a shell shot. But this is a strategy we're gonna be using for a lot of boss fights. That's the strategy you would use for the risky Bowser fight, the one that we're not doing in this run. This Peach scene is the longest, but it's pretty brain dead. But actually, I think I do screw up a bit here. So the reason why is because, you know, you're holding down B to go through the text boxes, but I accidentally pressed B here to use the parasail early. Yeah. It's like, I forgot that B triggered the item. You gotta make sure that when you're going through these text boxes really fast, that you don't press B when you're outside of the conversations, because B will zap you out of the being a Koopa. pretty self-explanatory. Disguise after disguise. So, I guess I'll take this time to talk about references to additional guides. So, Speedrun.com has Google Docs for beginner, intermediate, and expert route that you can read if you want further detail on how to speedrun this. This one is currently number 21 on the leaderboard. Overall in 17 for under N64 category. If you want more visual demonstrations, Strider7X did a video on his former world record, although that route is very out of date, but he does touch on some of the minor tricks and details that I'm talking about now. So when he commentates on that. So you can look at that video too, in case there's something I missed. And the world record holders, the people who moderate the speedrun leaderboard, they usually are. You can contact them and ask them if you have any questions. So right out of the gate, we're going to do the blooper fight. And if you do the blooper fight perfectly and dodge and block both attacks, then you can do a risky strategy with the upcoming mini-boss after this. Because if you successfully block both of these attacks here, but actually fail right here, you'll only take 1 damage from both of them, so you'll be at 13. And when you're at 13, that's just enough health to block both hits from the mini-boss to get to peril, but you have to block both of them. But if you're not at 13, then you have to be at 15. Because you can either block both of them or you can block one of them. So if you're not at 13 like I am, I'm gonna have to heal. So I have to heal using the crystal bear, the extra bubble berry I got from chapter 6. This is a tough path right here. I play sort of conservatively. I let the guys walk towards me, but I almost screwed up right here. He didn't see me a second time. I let him move against me twice, so he gets on that horizontal path, so it's easier to pass him up. But thankfully, I did not get burned by that, but I almost did. Yeah, this part right here is pretty scary. A lot of encounter dodges. We have to go through this again. So thankfully we avoided it. And then we have 2 more Koopas to block. These guys can attack from beyond the camera's reach. You have to listen for the sound when they hear you, when the explanation point goes over their heads. You have to jump all the way right here. You have to do fully pressed A jumps to reach these blocks. And same thing when you're jumping over them right here. Full A press, full A press, full A press, full A press. Or you're not going to make it. And then we're going to upgrade Lackluster a second time, because we're going to abuse his second move, Hurricane. And we're going to be using that throughout Chapter 7. So this is the boring part of Chapter 7, where you have to do somewhat fetch quests. It's just a character thing. You know, you're feeling the groove at this point, so this kind of like kills your momentum right here, sitting through all this again. But it does give you time to think about. It gives you time to look at my splits to see, you know, if am I ahead, am I behind, what risks should I take, what risks should I not take. And I can do some pretty good guesses based on the numbers I got from Live Split. I've had better runs than this, but now this is my best one on Capture Card. That's why I'm able to tell that if I ran perfectly with no mistakes, I could shave off probably 4 minutes from this run. We know exactly where to go. We just need to get this NPC to go with us, complete this small side quest, so we can go through the gates and head on to the dungeon. That's a small movement mistake right there. Now, as he's opening the door, you can't go in, so we take that opportunity to switch to a Paracarry there. So like I said, we failed to block one of the blooper attacks, so we have no choice but to heal. So we're going to use the Bubble Berry before we go into the fight. And the reason why, even if I had gotten to 13, I might have still chosen to heal, because this action command is one of the hardest in the entire game. It's a very quick attack. And if you mess it up, you know, you lose a life shroom, you have to heal back to full health to set up getting into peril again. It's a pain. So if I had taken more damage from like a first strike from one of those encounters in the sewers, then I would have needed like the super shroom. So Junior Trooper again. This one's the most annoying. This is one I'm always terrified going into. Same thing where we do a big one-turn hit. And we got it on the first try, which is good. It's like, okay, here we go. And we got the 5 bounce, so we didn't need an extra. Oh no, actually that's guaranteed. That's guaranteed kill because you need we have 3 FP left, and we need that for this very quick fight right here. This is a red herring fight. It looks menacing, but it's actually easy. And we're already in peril, so we can just go straight into the power bounce. And it's convenient because we ran out of health and FP, and now we level up. This is a boring part. Now, coming up is one of the more inexcusable mistakes I make. My finger slipped, and I got caught in the ice. I got caught in the ice right here. Yep. See, I got caught in the ice right there, and I couldn't get out of the way. Very unfortunate. So, here's the repel gel we get for the safety strategy for the final Bowser. This would have been the second repel gel if I had found that invisible repel gel in Chapter 5. But we only have one. And the painful thing is that it actually ended up mattering, as you'll see in the final fight. Right. So right here, we get the final piece for the keys to get to the dungeon. As you saw right there, I swapped to Cooper before going through the second door. There's a delay when you can actually open that second door, so that's another case where we take the advantage and do a partner swap at that point to save some time. So the rest of the Crystal Palace, the Chapter 7 dungeon, is mostly movement. There's a lot of encounters you have to dodge, but they're not run killers, usually. I think I did pretty good on this split. if my memory serves me right. So you gotta remember, you gotta just memorize how to get past these guys. You can go up against the wall right there to get past that guy. If you're up against the wall for these piranhas, you can get past them, but only on the going into the palace, not when leaving, because we have to backtrack to that part. Oh, there's a mistake right there. I missed the power switch. So this is where we are gonna take advantage of Lackluster's Hurricane, which is like Airlift in Chapter 6, but it does it to all enemies. But it's very hard on your fingers. You gotta mash constantly for a long period of time to get a 100% guarantee that it'll work. And we have to use it many times. The only disadvantage of it is that you don't get experience points, but at this point in the run, it doesn't really matter. I look like a lunatic when I'm mashing my controller to get those hurricanes. Alright, this is the last cutscene we have to sit through. Nope, that's a mistake right there. Oh my gosh, what am I doing? Getting too comfortable, I guess. Oh, if I knew what would happen in Chapter 8. Again, same thing, jumping at just the right time to climb these staircases. You can't just mash A. For these guys, you have to cancel the spin early to get through these bats. Man, I'm making a lot of movement mistakes here. This whole chapter is nothing but movement. Lots of puzzles, but you already know the answers to the puzzles. This is one of the few times where you can immediately walk through the wall when the bomb blows up. In the other cases, you can't do that. But this is one of the only cases, I think, where you can just go right through. Same thing again, Lackluster, Hurricane, and then just mash my fingers until they bleed. The hardest part is yet to come. This is actually a bit of a tough trick right here. You have to hit the ground pound the floor right here, but not fall in it, and avoid this bat at the same time. And that makes the mirrored side of it to have the floor be gone. So now we can go through it. This is the annoying part. It happens 3 times in this palace, I believe. No, just one more time after this. Where it's an obvious who's who type thing. We already did it with Cooper before we went to the palace. But just don't mess it up and you'll be fine. We have to do it one more time. And that one's even more, that one's more of a joke. So it sucks that we have to go through these. Pretty sloppy movement, to be honest. Same thing with the doors, by the way. As you know, it's like I'm able to open those doors right away after unlocking them. Alright, so here's the hard part. Same thing, Lackluster Hurricane, except we have to do it 3 times in a row. And it gets harder and harder with each fight because there's more enemies on the field. It's a good workout. So that's a very tough part right there. Just in terms of stamina. I took a risk right there. You see right there, I just gunned for it. Usually to play it safe, I let that guy walk towards me and I sort of circle around him. But I decided to go for it and it paid off. That's the last one of those who's who. I missed the jam and jelly the first time. That jam and jelly we use for the second to last fight. This is where the encounter dodges come in and play, because you have to go through them twice. That's another case where I went for it and it paid off. Alright, one more. I think this one I played it safe, because this guy moves faster. You can see that's how you would normally do it if you were playing it safe. It's the same type of workaround as with the first Goombas in Prologue. This is a pretty cheap puzzle. So there's two strategies you can take with this fight. I do the safe strategy. Actually, it's less more of a safe, it's more of easy versus difficult strategy. If you want to do the difficult strategy, making the blocks is a lot harder. So, but I was very comfortable with my time, so I just went the safe route. Bit of a slow menu right there. So the badge that we put on was the P up, D down, which allows us to do one more damage, but our defense is down by 1. And we took off the damage dodge, I believe, which allows us to increase our defense by 1 whenever we block successfully. And what that's going to do is it's going to make these pebbles do more damage, and we just have to block 1 of 3 right here to get to peril. And this Crystal King wastes a turn bringing his pebbles back. And now we have enough damage. And that's chapter 7. So now we go into the final chapter, which is by far the worst part of this run. Looking at my splits here, from chapter 7 till the end, I lost 2 minutes. Yep, 2 minutes I lost. From all the mistakes and safe strategies in this for the rest of this run. Just one chapter, 2 minutes, just gone. Thankfully, this intermission's nothing. Just sit through a cutscene and we're done. I call Chapter 8 the time lost chapter. Like, I jokingly refer to it as that because it's just a chapter designed to waste your time. Just how much time are you going to lose to this chapter? Because for the most part, you don't die. You can die, but it's not very likely. You're more likely to just lose a absurd amount of time rather than die. But we almost actually did die in Chapter 8. So, unfortunately, we have to backtrack all the way back to Toad Town. And we can't even get that right, because we get an encounter here, not after this. Now, this one I think was because my finger slipped. Yeah, I think this one was because my finger slipped. Yeah. Oops. So we're gonna take the blue house shortcut, which is a place you don't normally unlock till now. And it's convenient that we need Bombat to blow up a door because we need Bombat for the first fight in Chapter 8. So we don't have to partner swap again. So it's basically backtracking all the way to the Shooting Star Summit. You can see how much faster it is compared to the normal spin. There's encounters to dodge here, these embers. I play it safe here. And thankfully it pays off because I didn't get encounters from these guys. But I played it really safe. I was getting tired of getting sniped by these guys right here. Yeah, it was slow, inefficient. But I really did not want to encounter those guys again. Yeah, and Chapter 8 gets off to a pretty ugly start. I make a humongous menu mistake, and my risk failed at dodging an encounter that's coming up soon. big menu, changing the badges, and the only reason why I messed this up was because my notes were wrong. I was switching over to some more risky routes, and so what my badges were changed. So I got completely thrown off. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You get the point. And I still messed up. I equipped the wrong one. I shouldn't have equipped Spike Shield. It was supposed to be Dizzy Spin. So I had to open up the menu again and get the right one on. So 15 seconds probably. Just from that. Because my notes were wrong. Dizzy Spin allows us to get through the cannon room. You'll see how it works in a bit. You see right there what it does. You know, if you spin into an enemy, it makes them dizzy. So yeah, so ugly start already, and then these two Koopas are random, and I decided to go for it. Got through on that guy, failed on the second guy. But thankfully, because I spun him, I got him dizzy, it was a guaranteed runaway. But that's a small benefit. Yeah, there's like a trillion encounters to dodge in this chapter. So, off to the left, you see that little small cardboard box to the left? That is where you can get an extra life shroom if you are down by 1. That's the best option for a life shroom. So coming up here is a series of very tough platform cycle skip tricks. So paracarry right here, so you can get on the platform early, and then you can paracarry to the next one. So that's one trick. That's the easy one. So starting in this room is the tough one. So we're going to get right to the edge here, and we're going to paracarry, and you can just barely make it to the power switch. You're going to trigger it, and then at the very edge, you're going to jump onto this platform and quickly paracarry to get across. So you don't have to use Lackluster to get to that power switch. So same thing here. You're going to jump at the last second just to reach this power switch, and then you're going to jump at just the last second to get that that platform and paracarry. It took a long time to get that down, and it saves a lot of time. You don't have to swap your partner to Lackluster to get to the power switches, and the cycle's faster. So now we go into a fight where your HP does matter. Right after this. Pretty self-explanatory. There's a lot of partner swaps in this section. So this fight coming up here, your HP does matter. If you are not at full health, the the Magic Koopa will decide if he wants to run away or not. If you are at full health, the likelihood that he runs away is very high. But if you are damaged, his AI might think that it can still compete with you, and he'll stay in the battlefield. This attack combo only kills off the Koopa Troopas. It doesn't kill the Magic Koopa. So but we're at full health, and he does run away, which is what we want. So now, this is where another part of the leveling up star points strategy comes into play. We are at 5, like at the very tail end of the start of a new level. And that matters a lot, because we do not want to level up from here on out, because that is the last time we are going to level up. And the reason why that's so important is because we want to be in peril for the last few fights. But if we level up, we go back to full health, and that would take us out of peril. So we have to. This route is set up so that we have low star points going into those fights, so that even after beating all of those guys, we still don't level up. Now, coming up here is that part where I described where having the capture card is a disadvantage, because this is the dark room, where not you playing on the capture card allows me to run through this part in the dark. But unfortunately, because of the capture card, I have to use watts. So I sort of came up with this half thing, where I memorize parts where I can run in the dark, but for the parts where you have to dodge encounters, I would turn watt on. See? I knew that there was a guy right there, and you have to swap the para-carry to get across these spots, which is why it takes so much time when you have watts. See, you have to just not fall off, because you can't, with this capture card, you can't see even the shadows in the darkness. So I know there's an encounter here I have to dodge. I almost hit him. And then and then one more, and I actually almost hit this guy. And then I remember, and then I could just go straight left the rest of the way. So I just think like, okay, what are the spots where I don't need watt, and where are the spots where I do need watt? And that's sort of the plan that I came up with, like a compensation for this capture card issue. But as you can see, like, you know, you could think of all the time I could save right there if I did not have to swap between watts and para-carry throughout that entire segment. Now here's another mistake. I jump onto the Koopa Troopa. Another mistake that's inexcusable. I usually can get by this guy. So another mistake. Probably 10 seconds right there. Now here's like the most tedious part of the Chapter 8, which is the flood room. It's just raising the water level over and over again just to get to a key. So I'll talk about the strategy we're going to be using for the next room, because this part's pretty self-explanatory, which is the cannon room, which is just as annoying as the Chapter 1 cannon hall. What we're going to be doing is that we're going to be taking advantage of that Dizzy Spin badge. When we get to the cannons, we're not going to fight them. What we're going to do is that we're going to Dizzy Spin one of the bullets that they're shooting out, and then the Dizzy Spin makes it so that we can guarantee run away from them. And when we run away, as you've seen from multiple times when we have run away, Mario is intangible, where there's a brief period where enemies can't touch him. And we're going to use that to phase through the cannons to get by them without even fighting them. And we're going to do that multiple times through each one. Unfortunately, for the life of me, I cannot dodge these bullets when I need to. So I think we got 2 or maybe even 3 unneeded encounters from the cannons. It was embarrassing. And I almost died from it, because if you get hit by those bullets and you can't run away, they basically do a suicide charge at you, where they blow themselves up on you. So if you don't run away, they're going to kill themselves, and then you'll get star points. And then when you get star points, you're going to level up. And when you level up, you're not in peril anymore for the final fight, so it's game over. So the most tedious part of the dungeon is followed by the most terrifying part of the dungeon. So I probably, in this cannon room, I probably lost 30, 40 seconds. Just from this cannon room. From all the mistakes. Just for the life of me, I cannot... See, I got fooled by the first bullet, and then I missed the second one. So thankfully I ran away. So that's 10 seconds lost right there. And I actually went for it right there. Wow. So I actually... Oh, so there's my second mistake. I jumped too early. And I got hit by another cannon. So the first one didn't cost me too much time because I got through. But this one was completely unneeded. So I had to get to another encounter. So I was like, okay, just stop. Okay, so I thought I would be close enough to the cannons, but I wasn't. So this was another encounter that was not needed. So I had to wait again. So that's probably like 25 seconds right there from those encounters combined. But you get the point. You see the strategy that we're doing right here is that you want to be close enough to the cannons when you hit this guy, so that you got that brief moment of time where you can phase through them. So I went for it right there as well. So I could have failed that as well. So now this guy right here is a chance to hit you right there. It's very low chance, but it has happened. Now this guy, the hammer bro coming up here is a different story. It's very likely to hit you. There is a way to get around it, but it's a very tough encounter dodge. It's very tough. So I just gambled and it failed. And if I had failed to run away from this, it might have been run over, to be honest. So I'm very fortunate that I was able to get away. Because each one does an attack after I die. So I might have burned 2 life streams from that fight. So I decided to use the heal block here, just in case some crazy thing happens that does me an extra damage. Here's the second most tedious part of the run. But thankfully, the answers are always the same. 1, 1, 2, 1, 1, I believe. Thank goodness for that. That's always the same. I think I get the rest of this, the rest of the chapter right after that. Yeah, so the worst parts were the cannon room and two cannon room plus 2 extra encounters, having to do the Watt paracarry swapping throughout the dark path, and the menu screw up. And all those things cost me 2 minutes. This pretty self-explanatory stuff right here. But you gotta be fast, and I practice this over and over again to get this just right. Coming up here is a tough dodge right here is this hammer bro. If you go for the key, he's too close and he'll start firing the hammers like that. So you gotta get him far away so that when he's firing the hammers, it doesn't hit you. Just a few more encounter dodges. Those are pretty okay. So I thought normally I would get the refill block there, but I remembered, oh wait, I already did it, so I don't have to. But I did pause for a moment, opening up the menu to see if I had full HP. You want to bring Princess Peach clone back halfway. There's a specific spot with the columns where I can tell where I'm far enough where I could walk back and he's changed. And we use Hurricane one last time. Because again, we don't want any star points at this point. Alright, so bow. We need to equip all the jump badges again. No quake. P up, P down. This is the safe strategy with Junior Troopa. So this is another safe strategy. So if I wanted to, I could go with Parakarry instead of bow. And done charge up and took 2 damage from Junior Troopa instead. And that's okay, but the risk is that you have to get a certain amount of power bounces and you could get capped. This setup right here takes longer. It takes extra turns. You have to do the bow, hiding, the out of sight, but it's guaranteed kill. Because even the low bounce will work with this amount of jump storage. And if you see right here, we could have gotten higher. So if we did the risky strategy, it would have paid off. But like I said, I was fine with this run. It's like, I'll take it. It had been a while since I got in a completed run, so I just decided to go with it. So this is where we use the Jam and Jelly from the Crystal Palace. So as I explained before, we're in peril for the first Bowser fight. And we use the Jam and Jelly to have all the flower points we need. This Bowser fight's pretty easy, as long as you hit the action commands. You don't need too much. You can get capped with power bounces, but normally it's enough. I mean, if you're really lucky, you can get high enough power bounces where you can, I believe, two-shot him. I believe. I don't know. But on average, and what we get here is that it takes 3 turns. Almost hit the wrong jump there. Yep. Pretty basic. Taking full advantage of power jump and that Mega Rush. So again, we get star points, but not enough that we level up. So we are still in peril. So I'll explain the difference between safe strategy and risky strategy for this final fight. The safe strategy, what we do, which is guaranteed win as long as you hit the action commands for blocks, is you're just chipping away with power jump and shell shot. And then once you're at a specific spot, you'll use repel gel. I'll explain that in a moment. And then you just hide away as you're consistently chipping away this health. The risky strat, so right here, we're going to do one last badge menu, and you only have to do this badge menu if you're using the safe strategy. We put on the HP Plus badge we got from Koopa Village. That's where the badge finally comes into play. We didn't use it this entire run until just now. So, we have Phase 1, which is right here. And it's pretty simple. So you want to you get to do power jump on him twice, and you want at least one of those attacks to get at least 4 bounces from it. You don't want to get double 3 capped, as they say. Now, this doesn't matter that much, too much with the safe strategy, but it does matter a lot with the risky strategy. But as you see right here, we got 5 bounces, which is pretty rare. But, so, if we were doing the risky strategy, this would have been amazing. So we do it one more time, but on this one, we do get 3 capped. But you can see so basically, if that happened right there twice, we would have been in big trouble if we were doing the risky strategy right there. So now we go into Phase 2. So now we have to sit through a really long Peach cutscene. It's really long, it's really, really boring. So I'll start explaining how the strategy is going to work here. So we're going to tank hits from Bowser. We're going to use up we're going to use up at least 1 life room. And then once we lose our first life room, we're going to take damage again. And then we're going to be either in danger, which is under 5 health, or peril, which is 1 health. And we need to stay there. Because the AI on this final Bowser Phase 2 is that if Mario is at a certain amount of health compared to Bowser's, because Bowser's health is going to start getting lower and lower, based on Mario's health and Bowser's health, a thing will click in the AI's head that it needs to heal. And we want to trick the AI to not heal. So we need to stay at low health so that damage calculation keeps telling Bowser you don't need to heal. So once you get to that point where after you use your first life room and then you're down to danger or peril, you need to stay there. So if you screw up and you miss an action command, you need to not attack and wait until you go back into danger and peril again. But even then, he might still heal because you're back at 10 health again. The ideal situation for the safe strategy is to get to peril with the fire blast. And then, because you can go straight into power jump. Now, the risky strategy is using the jump charge badge, which is, you know, the jump stacking for one big attack. If you get the, but that relies, once again, like the Junior Troopa risky strat, it relies on not getting capped at a certain amount of bounces. And it also, you have to hope that the Bowser AI uses specific moves on specific turns. Even though it is likely that it will do that, it's not guaranteed. So there's a lot of things that you have to count on with the risky strategy to work. And what you save from that in terms of time is essentially all the attacks you're making, because you're basically just sitting back and doing nothing. As you're jumping your chart, you're gathering up charge for one big attack to finish them off. I don't know how much time it saves. It probably saves like a minute, maybe, an ideal. Like compared to like the worst case scenario of this phase 2, which we got, and like a good case phase risky strat. But we did safe strat, and it ended up being pretty bad. So take him out of his superpower mode, which we actually don't do with the risky strat. We let him stay in that. But in this case, we gotta start dealing damage to him. Alright, so switch bow to Parakarry. We would have swapped to Parakarry before then if we got double 3 capped. So the hardest part for like a beginner is timing these blocks, because Bowser has multiple types of attacks and it's very deceiving timing on these attacks. So you got to practice a lot on timing these things. And if your TV has bad input lag, it can be even harder, as I learned the hard way. So here we tank our first life room. We hit all the action commands, so we're good. So just keep attacking. So now we want Fire Blast right here, but unfortunately we do not. So we're in danger, and so we have to go into Repel Gel. I believe, you know, if you get the peril from the Fire Blast at that point, you don't even need Repel Gel. You can just go straight into Power Bounce. And we get unlucky again because his AI clicked to use the Star Rod again. I forget exactly when it decides, but it's kind of random. But now we have to sit through another Peach Beam cut animation again. So you wouldn't have to worry about that with the risky strategy. And then he tries to take out your opponent with this Shockwave. So you have to time not for Mario, but for your partner, Parakarry. Because if he gets hit, he gets disabled for multiple turns, which takes it even longer for Bowser to die. And so we were just short of dealing enough damage to kill Bowser. So we had to sit through another Life Shroom animation. We were just slightly off from finishing him off. So that was a very bad final Bowser fight. That's about as bad as you can get for safe strategy. But it's not over yet. We still have to sit through all of these cutscenes. Because typically with speedruns, the timer ends once the player stops giving inputs to the game. Which unfortunately is not till later, because you have to sit through all these cutscenes and then walk to Peach's castle. And you have control of Mario at that point. So it falls into the category of like, it's not yet over, you still have inputs you need to do. And that's another thing that we're doing the risky strat with Bowser matters, because as you remember, you may not have noticed, but when we did that last badge menu to put on the HP Plus badge, we took off the Speedy Spin badge. So and you can't open the menu, I think, when you go to Peach's Castle for the end. So you have to do regular spins to get towards Peach's Castle. Whereas if you won the game using Risky Strat, you would be able to do the Speedy Spin, which probably saves like 8 to 10 seconds, maybe. Maybe not that much. Maybe like 8 seconds. And I know, like, you might think to yourself, wow, 8 seconds, that's such a big difference, like, sarcastically, but it really does add up. It really does. You know, when you're looking at your live splits, and you're looking at the time difference between split after split, you know, it's like 5 seconds behind, 10 seconds behind, 30 seconds behind, a minute behind, a minute and 5 seconds, and then it just keeps getting more and more and more and more till it gets to a point where it's not insignificant. I mean, look at the world record holder, like at 3 hours and 40 minutes. You know, all of those minutes come from implementing all the risky strategies, doing more advanced techniques that I did not use in this run, next to no encounters, and all the additional minor detail movements that might save just a few milliseconds for each fight, but when you compound it for every single fight in the game, it adds more minutes. That's minutes lost. So yeah, it's a really big difference. So like I said, based on my splits, if it had everything gone perfectly and I did some more risky strategies, I could probably take off 4 more minutes from this run. And then when you add on, if I was playing on the Japanese version, a few more minutes as well. It's really unfortunate that this run was so good after Chapter 5, and then my time just kept going up and up and up and up and up after that. Typically, that's what you want, though, because you want to be able to take the safe strategies at the end, rather than being 2 minutes behind, and then you're forced to take risky strategies to catch up. Now, there's one more trick you can do right here. When Mario and Luigi walk to the pipe, if you hold down when you're going through the pipe, it skips a cutscene with Luigi. They have allowed it for the glitchless category. People still debate whether or not it's a glitch or intentional, so they allow it. So right here, you press down, and you skip a cutscene with Luigi. So right here, like I said, you can. I'm going with regular spin here, when I would normally be able to do speedy spin. That was slow movement right there. So if I had the speedy spin, I would have been able to get this under 357. It would be 356. But I'm happy with this run. I pretty much nailed all the movements. Time. Right there when she puts the hands up is when you stop the timer. I'm happy with this run because I got to pull off a lot of the hard tricks. I made some very fundamental mistakes. Pretty embarrassing mistakes. But I'm happy I was able to show off a lot of the more advanced techniques that I usually don't pull off all at the same in one run. All those advanced tricks ended up saving this run from my basic embarrassing mistakes. So thank you everyone for watching this. Again, if you want more information on this, speedrun.com has guides. You can reach out to world record holders. There's some other videos that do comments from former world records. Even though their routes are outdated, they still provide good advice and information. So this is mostly just for people who've not very familiar with this game and just want to understand some basic stuff about it. And like I said, I highly recommend if you're doing speedruns, start with this game because there's no frame perfect tricks. The route's laid out for you. It's just optimizing it. I used to be at 4 hours and 30 minutes when I started this speedrun. And I slowly got better and better and better, and now at a point where I'm under 4 hours. So, thank you everyone for watching. Bye.